Namaste and good evening, everybody. I have some questions that someone put out on my channel that I was going to put out there and see what kind of answers come from the pendulum this evening. So let's go ahead and get started with the reading. Okay, so the first one is is the body prone to illness and weakness after enlightenment? Okay, so no. Okay, there it is. No, very clearly. So that's not something that happens at all with those that are enlightened, like all of a sudden that, the mind falls away and they just, get sick easier, anything like this. Okay, so one can see there is a no there. The other question is contact with the physical world, it sounds like, for the enlightened. Does that decrease their energy or cause them some problems? Okay, no. Okay, so that's, it's not an issue. I mean, there are some energies that may impact them, but once their mind is completely clear of all obstructions. But it's not anything that one could say is factual. It's not, at that point, if there are some aversions and attachments still, like if one says, oh, I can't go out, I can't be around this person, I can't do this, I can't do that, after the mind falls away, then really that's like a red flag. It's, it's just not, really something that would come then when one is just, if there's a lot of aversions or something. And you can see that sometimes with people, they'll say, oh, they have to hold themselves away from the world because that may stir up the mind. And so, this is partly why there are monasteries and things where people do enclose themselves away from the world. This is part of the practice for some that go into that or onto that path, and it has validity during that time. But really, overall, they do have to return to the world and connect with it. Some may not ever, but if it does happen where they do feel more clear, and then they go out and connect with the world, or are out of the confines of a monastery or an ashram or whatever, and then their mind gets so stirred up, then this is not being enlightened. So that should not be there at all for those that are in that space, a clear space, a clearer space. Because truly one that is fully awake and in 0 point balance should be grounded and within the the ground of all, and it should not come up, or like I say, that is a red flag for those that do. And with that, they just they move with the regular flow, the natural flow of their day. The other would be more based on fears and things. Okay, so this is not true. Okay, that contact with the world, the physical aspect, is going to give them problems, truly. Okay, so let's make sure that that's completely right. Okay, so one can see a big yes. It's a very... it's a yes that feels like it's light. Let's see if there's any no in it. Okay, so no, there is a small amount, and like I say, there may be some energies that do weigh on them in certain ways. But in terms of it being an issue in their life or something that they're going to really get, caught up in mentally, and all of a sudden, have some obsessions around it, or they have to hold themselves away. This was very much of a problem. Okay, this again, one would say, are you really fully awake if you're, if you've got all these fears and aversions? Okay, and then Ramana and Ramakrishna died of cancer. Okay, you can see the pendulum saying, yes, they did. This is indeed a fact, okay? So I believe what they're meant by that question is, is this part because they were awakened? Is this disease process that came to them due to that? Because they did, seekers were around them, they had contact with others, and, okay, did this have anything? Okay, very big no. Not at all. Not at all. As the body is no different than anything in nature, it is subject to decline and decay just like any other body. It is not all of a sudden, when one is enlightened, going to transcend those natural laws. And one is not the body. That's the whole thing about, the truth. And when one is completely cleared out of obstructions and attachments, that pure consciousness is all. So it doesn't have anything to do with the body. But the body will still go on and be subject to disease processes, to pain, to, whatever comes in regular bodies, truly. So this is just, the way it is. So, okay. And then as far as Ramana goes, let's see a little bit more with him. So he was complete, of course, and he, it was time. It's not like he made a choice on it. It wasn't his will. It was, again, the natural flow of things as his body declined, decayed, and, death was the end result. His consciousness was unsullied. It was not at all touched by this. And as he was not at all in the physical, mundane, mental way, like feeling like he's attached to that body or to whatever was happening. It wasn't there. It was completely non-existent for him. So, it was just again a part of the natural process for him. And Ramakrishna is one that was so devoted to Mother, and, really let her, allowed his mind to be sunk within that, where she really carried his life. And, what came to the body, what came to his life was not of his making. It was all about her and Mother. So, Kali. Okay, so that body, changed, decayed, declined, and again, died. There was an end to it. This was again a natural part for Ramakrishna. However, he did smoke, so there was some of that caused whatever disease process he had, which is going to happen when one smokes. They might get cancer, throat cancer, okay? But just again, if you look at a lot that are enlightened, they die of something. And a lot of them, even as I was doing a lot of these readings, there was diabetes, there was strokes, there was different things, that people, or a rupture of vessels, there was just a lot that took place that, the body changed, declined, and then did pass away. All right, and so the last one is, at the moment of enlightenment, is it the same as leaving the body? Leaving the physical world. Okay, so we can see there's a no there, and there's also a yes. So we can look a little bit deeper at this. Okay, so as far as those that leave the body when they're not enlightened, let's start with that. Okay, so one can see various levels or in levels in my consciousness. I see that where there's one does go through different experiences after death. And again, this is for one that is not enlightened. They're varied, and they do speak of different realities. They can speak of different levels of consciousness. They have an energetic playing out that still holds a lot of that same story, or the, energy that one left with. It is still there. It's playing out. It's revolving and moving. And so, when one speaks of this leaving the body, they could say that one enters a different space for sure, even when one is not enlightened. But there are changes. There's bardo realms that, there's loud voices, there's seeing different things. There's all sorts of types of experiences that are encountered there, okay? So let's see now, when the one that is enlightened leaves the body, or at the moment of enlightenment, let's see what comes from that, okay? So when the mind falls away, there is no one to experience, like the experiencer that's within it has dissolved. So that one does not go through these different layers or levels of consciousness anymore. Is this correct? Okay, so you can see that's yes, they're done with all that. That's comes to one that still is holding within themselves an identification. So they don't go through all that, and their consciousness remains the same. But in terms of, let's say, when, at that time of enlightenment, at that moment, okay, so the feeling of death is very strong and impending. It is the feeling of impending doom for many. And this is feeling like a death that comes. And when one goes into another state of the void, this depth that is washed clean of all personhood. Okay, and then, and some or many can return to the body, and they are, they're cleaned of all these, of this objective feeling, this objective reality, or the sense of dualism. So this is that feeling. And then, of course, if someone is dying that is not awake and truly, that dying process is coming, they're going to feel that impending death as well, and you can see this is getting bigger. This is common. I mean, I was a hospice nurse for many years, so I was around this, and you can see it in their eyes. They know. So, okay, so these are the differences. So this is the energy with the one that is not enlightened is going to carry forward and, continue to have its journey and its experiences until, that is washed clean. So, okay, so let's see if this is all pretty much hitting the mark, at least for what these questions are. Okay, it feels like yes. Let's see if there's anything else to be said about this. Okay, no, the only thing that I would say, these questions are interesting, and but, if one just lets their mind go crazy on this stuff and try to understand it or figure it out, it isn't going to help anything. And really the answers don't, they may give a little illumination, but, as was said before, one has to go within and experience these things for themselves. So this is the, you have to undertake the journey. But anyway, I hope this was helpful and that it did bring some clarity to these questions. And may all have a great evening. Namaste. Bye.